Welcome to the Paisans podcast. We're your hosts, the brothers from other mothers, Dante, Dave, and Sark. Join us as we talk about current events, our wives, kids, or whatever else life is throwing at us this week. You're with the Paisans, you're with family. You know, but one thing, just like because I happen to open up ESPN here, is it me, or has the NFL gone from being like, we don't condone gambling, to like,
oh, shameless.
Gambling is a part of everything that I'm seeing online, on TV.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's part of everything. Monday Night Football, they're incorporating what's the line, what's the spread,
FanDuel,
like, everything. They have all these commercials, and then they have the audacity at the end to be like, gambling problem?
Call 1-800-GAMBLING.
We all know the number.
Like Kurt Warner does the ad where he's like, here's some tips for how you can make sure you don't get too into, he doesn't say in too deep with gambling, but basically he's like, keep it under control, like gambling, healthy
responsible gambling. There's so much money involved in the gambling space. That's why they're doing it, because it's not just the NFL, it's all of these sports. That's all they're doing. They'll even give you, like, ESPN has a sports book now, and then ESPN also puts out picks, and it's like, are they setting me up to lose right now or what? Like, that's how I started looking at it. And it's like, they're like, here's our parlay of the day, and it's like some ridiculous bet. They're like, but look at how much you can make. All it takes is $10.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you start up a membership, they'll give you like $250.
Well, yeah.
Right off the bat.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh,
well, I'm on ESPN now just to check the schedule, and I see it here, right? ESPN Bet. And I'm like, son of a gun. Like, they have all just gone from being like, again, they've just made a real quick 180. No problem with that. No problem.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the amount of money that must be going into these, and it tell you what, it makes you wonder. Well, I don't even know. I don't want to go down this path, but it just is hard for me to understand where people are getting this money to gamble. I have a bad feeling that it's all just debt. It's all just more debt. That's it. I don't have anything else to say about it.
I'm sure it's more debt, and I'm sure they take credit card.
It's just when
I would imagine they do. Yeah,
like the national debt and like how much taxes they take or whatever, and people are still spending more money on shit like betting. I don't get me wrong. Like, I get that some people do it and they enjoy it, and that's cool. I personally, I can understand the thrill of it, but I'm just too, I don't know. It just feels to me like nothing is free. And so the prospect of like winning at gambling is like, if I go to like a casino, and it's been probably 5 years or more since I've been to a casino. Like, I'll go to the blackjack tables, I'll go to like the $10 tables or the $20 tables. And I'll be like, all right, I got $200. When I'm out, done. And I don't have any problem with that. Like, and actually last time I went, I came home with money. Like, I think I won $200 or whatever. But, obviously I've gone plenty of times and I'm out of the cash. Like, 15 minutes. that didn't take long. But I have to say, for whatever reason, it's like it pains me too much to take the money out of the bank. So I'm just like, that's it, I'm done. As opposed to being like, but if I can put down another, if I had 50 more bucks and I could win that money back, it just doesn't, it's not how my brain works.
How shitty would that feel too? Like at an ATM in a casino, it's like, what was my fucking life come to?
I don't know what time of day it is. I don't even know which way the exit is from here.
It's so true.
So you guys been to MetLife, the new MetLife. So I noticed this last weekend. Speaking of gambling, there's a physical FanDuel location there.
Oh, interesting.
It's a FanDuel
I don't think I realized that.
Betting hub, and it's a building that they constructed within walking distance.
So it's a sports book right there.
Right there.
So people are walking in with cash probably, or like...
Oh, yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Do they play the game? Like, can you stand there and watch the game on?
I'm guessing that you
can.
Yeah.
I would imagine they do, yeah.
Betting type of thing. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
At least it'll improve the community. I don't know if you've ever been, like, seen an OTB, but it's never in a nice community. Sorry to anybody out there who lives near one, but...
It's not a family thing,
No, it is not. It is not. These states now, they need revenue. And so they're looking at things like gambling, and they're like, hey, that's quick revenue, It's interesting. You could potentially see this going down a really negative path if these states are desperate for the money. It's like you start just like legalizing the vices and taxing the hell out of them. And it's like, okay, but it'll be interesting to see.
I feel like it's coming. I feel like it's coming. A lot of these things. I mean, even like porn is a billion-dollar industry. I'm not saying necessarily that, but maybe like a sex industry becomes legal or something, and then they find a way to tax it. I don't know. Maybe not federally,
Yes.
but there might be places.
You probably need
with
like
it.
synthetic humans first.
Well, those are coming.
Then it'll
I feel like.
totally blow up. Yeah, pardon the pun, blow up. What I was gonna say.
Oh
That's
my
what you
God.
need.
Well, I saw a clip earlier today from a movie, but I don't know what the movie was from. But it was the dude from that movie Tudors, like the guy who played the main character in that, not the movie, but that series. It was on Showtime a few years ago. It was him, and he was interacting with some girl who was supposed to be a robot, you know. And it was like he was trying to initiate, like, turn on sexual intimacy mode or something like that.
This isn't Ex Machina, is it?
I don't know. Maybe it was.
I don't
did you
know the
say?
guy from Tudors. Ex Machina.
Was he in that movie?
I don't know who that guy is. That's the problem.
Oh.
No, I saw Ex Machina. It was Oscar Isaac and
Oh.
the
was
other
Oscar
dude,
Isaac in it?
Donald Gleason. It was
I don't know
those
who that
two.
is.
Those two. He's they're. It's funny. They're both in those new Star Wars movies.
Which one is Donald Gleason?
He's like the
who was he in
right
Star
hand
Wars?
guy to Kylo Ren, who's always getting his ass kicked by Kylo Ren, the redheaded dude.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what his name was. I forced those movies out of my mind, so I don't
I was
really remember much about them.
The girl in Ex Machina is Alicia Vikander. She's an Oscar. She's won an Oscar, I believe, or has at least been
Okay.
nominated.
Okay.
I think she actually might have won for that movie. Actually, she might have won for Ex Machina. But anyway, I don't know. I wasn't sure what movie you were talking about.
Ex Machina. Let me see.
That's an older movie, though.
It's probably
Yes, I
like
see what you're saying.
2015 or something like that. 2016.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly right. 2015. It wasn't
Yeah.
that, but no, it wasn't. But it was a similar concept where she's like a humanoid robot, and
Okay.
yeah, okay, I can see. But the premise of it was, or what caught my eye, what I found was sort of interesting was that he was interacting with her and like accessing menus while talking to her. So he'd be like, access settings, and she's like, you know, he's like, access settings, languages. She's like, okay, you know, like she's like, so he's talking to her and she's responding as if, you know, and he's accessing menus and like changing settings. Saved, you know, settings saved. And she starts speaking to him in Mandarin, you know, and then she's like, change language, you know, like all that sort of stuff. But the whole thing was funny too, because she was like asking him, well, he was turning on intimacy settings, and then she was asking him for set the percentage for sexual drive, like set the sexual drive. So the sexual drive was like, he said 50%. And she was like, we recommend 75%. So he's like, okay, let's go 75%. And then she's like, how about responsiveness? And he's like, 90%. Anyway, it was just sort of funny to me how she would, like, I thought in that moment, I was like, that's probably not that far off of how, like, you'd be interacting with one of these things.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, it wouldn't exactly be cool if they would, like, if you had to, like, grab them by the wrist and, like, type something into their wrist or something. You'd have to actually talk to them and interact with them.
Dude, that totally reminds me of like when, remember in Total Recall?
Yes.
When they had like Schwarzenegger has to pick out like what kind of woman do you want?
Yes.
You know, he's like,
Athletic.
dirty. Yeah, athletic. Demure. Healthy bosom.
What is it? Athletic. I just remember going athletic.
I've heard of Total Recall. If I've seen it, it was when I was really young, so I don't
Real
remember
little.
anything from it. Yeah.
Mike, is it just me, or is it just like crazy to you that these movies are that old now?
No. And I
Right?
remember specifically, we saw that movie in the theater at
God.
Bridgewater, man.
Really?
Bridgewater Commons. Yeah, dude.
Oh my God, I can't.
You,
believe
me,
remember it.
Grossman, Nick,
Sounds about right. Okay, that would have been us. Huh? Blue Skies on Mars.
Blue Skies on Mars.
I
The
thought it was
concept of
good
that
flick.
movie is actually not, well, the concept of it is pretty good.
I think
Because
it's
you
awesome.
still don't know what the fuck happened. You're not
Right.
sure.
Exactly.
It's written well.
Dave, you know what the idea is? The premise?
No, you have to refresh my memory.
Basically, it's like these. They offer these services now where you can go in and, like, instead of actually paying to say go on a vacation, you can just have the memory of the vacation downloaded into you,
Yes.
and then so like you'll have that memory forever, but you didn't even have to actually pay for the vacation.
Okay.
And then he goes in and you can have like a vacation. Oh, right. And so your vacation, like a lot of people choose your vacation to be like an adventure of some kind. And so he picks an adventure. And then when they're doing the procedure, like something goes wrong and there's this whole thing. And then through the course of the movie, you're starting to ask like, well, did this really happen? And is this actually happening? Or is this actually the adventure that he paid for? Which is like kind of the fun part of
And
the
at one
movie.
point, the guy like intervenes and he's like, we're talking to you from the outside. You're actually like in a coma.
Yes.
But he calls bullshit on it.
It is actually kind of an interesting concept.
It is.
Yes. I mean, honestly, Mike's right. I think it was 1994 that movie came out. Maybe before that, Sark. Maybe it's 91, because if we were in high school, it wouldn't have been after 92.
Right. Yes, that'd be really late 80s, early 90s. I remember they had a
1990.
90. And they had a Martian prostitute with 3 breasts. I remember that specifically.
Oh my gosh. So the best thing, there were several things about that movie that were like sort of stand out that people still quote and stuff to this day. One of them is like, he goes to Mars. Mars is like, inhabited by people. Like they've populated Mars.
Okay.
And he goes there and he meets up with this dude who's like part of the resistance on Mars. There's like a whole political sort of angle that's created.
Yes.
Ideas like the people who are on Mars are like oppressed is the concept. And so there's this resistance of people on Mars, and the guy, what's his name, Mike? Do you remember the name of who he has to talk to?
Kato or something.
So he has to, like, it's like Dave, he's talking to like this guy and he's like, shh, I don't know if you can be trusted. We got to see if we could talk to like Kato. I forget the guy's name. I can't believe we can't remember it. But finally he gets a chance to meet this person, and it's just like this regular looking dude. And he's like, oh, so are you ready to meet him? And Schwarzenegger's like, what do you mean him? I'm talking to you. He's like, no, hang on. The guy like turns around, opens his shirt, and he's like, he turns around and he's got another human being like embedded in him. And the guy's just like,
baby arms.
He's like a baby human, but he's like in the guy's chest. He's got these little arms like this. And Arnold Schwarzenegger's character's name is Douglas Quaid in the movie. And so this guy says to him,
Quato.
That's it, Quato. You got to see Quato. Quato says to him, open your mind. So there's like the dude, the host who talks, and then there's like the baby guy, and the baby guy has his own talk, like his own voice and his whole like little arms. Open your mind, Quaid.
And the main dude like goes just like his eyes roll back, like while the other thing is coherent, like he's just in a coma. And then that thing goes to sleep, and she's like, oh, did you talk to it? What did it tell you?
Yes. Now I'm remembering. The idea is that they've had, in the process of colonizing Mars, they've had like accidents, and so these people end up getting like mutated. There's been these mutations, and it's gotten into the genes, and so that you get all these crazy like physical abnormalities. So like Mike was mentioning, at one point there's this like prostitute, she's standing there, she's got 3 boobs.
Yes.
And there's some other dude who like she's talking to, and he's just a
he's like a cyclops.
He's like a cyclops. And he turns out to be like a really good guy.
Then there's like the cab driver. The cab driver is like horrifying too.
Yes, the cab driver has like an extra arm or something.
An extra arm, yeah, that like grows out of his navel.
Yes. It was directed by Paul Verhoeven, who's the same guy who directed Starship Troopers later on, after this movie. And he directed a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And all his movies are like hyper like violent and like sexual at the same time. So he's got all these movies where characters are like buck naked in one scene. The next season they're having like their arms and legs blown off. Sharon Stone plays his wife on Earth. And then after he goes to recall and he realizes he's actually a double agent, he goes home and his wife like tries to kill him. Turns out she's been an agent the whole Go ahead.
No, he's been married to her for like 20 years or something. And
Sharon Stone.
Yeah, and within 10 minutes, like, she's some kind of an agent, so they get into a fight, and he snaps her neck, and he's, like, totally unaffected. He's like, consider this a divorce. And then he gets his shit, and he's on to the next thing.
So true, Mike. It's like movies do shit like that, especially the Schwarzenegger-style movies. That's exactly, I forgot that. I totally forgot about that. Consider that a divorce.
I'm surprised he didn't have kids, He's like, Mommy's sleeping, go watch TV. Mommy's sleeping forever.
Permanently.
Consider this a divorce is an unbelievable line.
Oh, yeah.
That is actually the line in the movie. Consider that a divorce. That's what he says. He kills her and is considered a divorce.
The one-liners are unbelievable, dude.
That is really true. He really did say that.
I think it was Verhoeven. It was one. I'm pretty sure it was Paul Verhoeven. Was he like Austrian or something?
Yes.
He at one point he made him because he made RoboCop, the original RoboCop. That was also pretty good. But then he made some movies later on that were not very good. He made that one film with Demi Moore? It was like she was like a strip dancer.
Yeah.
Striptease, yeah.
Striptease.
And they bombed.
Yes.
And then he made some comment publicly like, I don't make movies for stupid fucking Americans, I make it for smart Europeans that understand my films.
Sweetheart, we're married.
Consider that a divorce.
Shoots her in the head.
For some reason, I thought he snapped her neck. I forgot her in the head.
It's after this whole huge fight. Dave, they're in a fight for like 5 minutes. It's like, and I mean, he's throwing her across the room through panes of glass. She's like kicking him through doors, and like they're beat hand-to-hand combat. This is the first time they see each other after the last time they saw each other in the movie. Like, I think they had sex. Like,
yeah, everything was fine.
They were like madly in love.
And let me guess, she can kick a guy like Arnold Schwarzenegger through doors because she's just like some secretly trained agent that's been in hiding for 25 years.
That is precisely right,
like,
Dave.
Creating, like, meanwhile, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger we're talking about, Mr. Olympia.
Yes, and yes. That's 100% exactly the premise, Dave. That's exactly the premise.
Funny.
And he's smiling. You see that he's smiling when he says it?
Yeah.
That's what we grew up with, Dave, man. It was a different time. I mean, Schwarzenegger with those one-liners, it was like every movie you were just waiting for him to say. And half of it, the fun with him was the accent. It was like, what is he going to say? Because you'd be walking out of the movie and you'd just be saying, Mike said another one too from the movie, which is where he, not the main bad guy, but one of the big, the bad guys who thinks he's like, he can't wait for the chance to kick Arnold's ass type of thing. And then, of course, they finally get in a fight and it's not even close. It's like,
arms are caught in an elevator as it's going up and just like torn off of his body.
And so to the point, and then Arnold stands up and he holds up, he's got each of the arms and he sort of looks at them like, isn't that when he says it? He's like, see you at the party, Richter. You totally got to watch this movie, Dave. You'd actually really like it. It's a good flick. It's a really good
What's
flick.
great about this is that this movie was put out, I'm sure, and it was not intended to be a comedy, but now it's like hilarious and you can maybe appreciate it in that fashion because it's like, it's actually the timing of consider that a divorce with like his accent and everything after he shoots his wife. It's actually hilarious when you think about it.
It is. I agree. And it wasn't the least bit like Arnold did always, there was like a little bit of that humor there was a little bit of tongue-in-cheek humor to all of it. Like there's sort of, he never turned to the camera and sort of winked like to acknowledge totally, but he was self-aware enough to realize like it's a little ridiculous. Some of these scenarios are just like, okay, this movie, like what was the movie? James Cameron, True Lies. That's another one where it's like, he's like he's supposed to be a suave secret agent who would recognize him with his ability to change accents so fluidly. It's like so ridiculous. It's like, this might be the same guy we encountered the last time. Excuse me, sir. Can you say something for me? Can you repeat after me? Consider that a divorce? Consider that a divorce. Why do you ask? No, you sounded like somebody I know. Yeah, it's the same guy. Like, can you imagine like trying to pull that off? No, totally different guy. Totally different guy.
He's wearing a different shirt. I mean, he has this suit on.
He's got glasses.
Yeah.
His hair's parted on the other side.
In Total Recall, too, he was like a construction worker. He wasn't like a trained killer. It starts out he's like a construction dude. He's working with like a jackhammer, That's how they explain away that he's a big guy,
Well, he finds out that he is a trained killer. Just after he kills his wife, he goes to his go bag and he opens it up and realizes there's a videotape that he made for himself at some point before he got his memory erased. And so he finds out that he's really a secret agent and he's had his memory erased. And that's what so he watches this whole video that is of himself talking to him, saying, "This is who you really are. You're really a secret agent," all this stuff. And then he's like, "But the first thing you got to do is take out, you're being tracked. You have a tracker, and it's up in your nasal cavity. It's like basically up on your brain." And so he's got this device that he like jams up his nose, and it supposedly like reaches up, grabs the thing, and then pulls it out. And they make it look in the movie like it's about the size of a golf ball. And he's gonna like pull it all the way down through his nose.
So what we're learning is Arnold needs to get back into making movies.
Oh, he was in his day, man. He was great. Like he was great. He made some great movies, dude. Okay. I can probably do it backwards. Terminator 2.
Yeah, classic.
Terminator, obviously. But before, after that, Terminator was his first big one. But you had Terminator 2 was absolute classic. True Lies was classic. Total Recall. Predator.
Yeah, Predator is one of my favorites.
Commando is pretty cheesy, to be honest. Like, it's not a good movie.
You know what's good? The one where he was fighting the devil with Gabriel Byrne. That was a pretty good movie. End of Days.
I don't know if I saw
ever see
that
one?
movie.
Pretty good movie, actually.
Is it?
Twins with Danny DeVito.
Yeah,
Danny
Twins.
DeVito.
And he
Kindergarten
just-
Cop. Yeah.
He somewhere in
Cop.
there, he
And-
figured out that he could do comedy,
Did you guys see the Stallone documentary? I think it was on Netflix.
No.
No.
It's good.
Is it good?
It's really,
Maybe I
really good.
did
Yeah.
watch it.
Mm.
I feel
And
like I watched something on him not long ago.
yeah, I think or maybe they're both on Netflix, but there's a Stallone one and there's a Schwarzenegger one. And the
Okay.
Schwarzenegger one's interesting. Like, he addresses head on the whole affair that he had, and like, because he spends time with his son now and everything. I think he opened a gym with him or something.
Yes.
They were both talking about how it's kind of like the way, I don't know, at least that I imagined it in the 80s. They were competitive with each other in those films. They're
Yes.
saying, like, so Rambo came out, so then Schwarzenegger, had to go do Commando. And it's like, I
Yep.
want a bigger gun,
Yep.
bigger rocket launcher. And that was just going back and forth. It's so
Yes.
funny that they were saying that, because as a kid, it was like there was that, you felt there was a rivalry, even though you really never had eyes on it,
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and it wasn't like they all came out at the same time.
They've made these action movies together. I forget what they're called. They've had a string of them.
Expendables.
The Expendables, yeah.
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 And they've all had a great time doing that. They all sort of are all game to get together to do it, because they're all like, oh, why don't we all? It's like, I think they had Bruce Willis in one
Yeah.
of them.
They've
They've had a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did.
I think I watched one of those movies. I mean, it was fun. It wasn't great, but it was fun.
I'm sure they had a better time making it than we had watching
That's how
it.
it seems. That's
Yeah.
how it seems. I haven't watched Tulsa King yet either, but that's the Stallone's series. Have you
It's-
seen it?
It is good, and it's so funny, man. Like, you'll watch it, and you're like, how come Stallone hasn't done stuff like this before?
Mm.
Because, I mean, he's done comedy, but he does this really well. It's like a perfect character for him. He's a mobster.
Yeah, like an ex-mobster, right? Or is he reestablishing himself?
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
out of
yeah.
jail, and he kept
Yeah.
his mouth shut, and sort of as his reward, like, they've kind of vanquished him. I think he was New York, and they vanquished him to Tulsa because they
Okay.
want him to start up, it's like a casino or something there, and and it's like a comedy
Like a drama.
drama.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the characters are really quirky, but he's kind of found his niche with this character. Like, I think he
Really?
has a hand in writing a little bit of it, and it's that other dude, the Taylor Sheridan guy that writes like all their shows.
Yeah, all right. My father raved about it. Dad raved about it, Dave.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah, he
asking me, well, you got to be watching this show.
Because the only time you ever saw Stallone really do a mobster thing was that stupid comedy. What was it? Like
Oscar
the
or something?
80s.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
horrible.
yeah. Right,
Yeah, but never serious, never realist, like never really, like a
right.
realistic. Yeah.
And he
Yeah,
does
he-
it really well.
I've seen clips and reels, on social media and stuff, and yeah, I like it a lot. And like his take on the world too. He's like, what
Exactly.
the hell is this? He's like,
And he's a likable guy. Like, he's a good guy. So, you get into him.
Okay.
He's,
okay.
yeah.
Well, that's a good thing. Yeah, I think we talked about this once before, as I watched The Sopranos again with the kids, especially with Joey, and watching it again, I'm like watching certain scenes, and I could hear from the kids, they'd be like, oh, but why would he do this? Why would he do that? I'm like, again, guys, he's not a good guy. Like, it's like, and I suspect this is a little different, because watching The Sopranos every now and again, I'd be like, I guess I am rooting
is.
for
Oh,
Tony,
yeah.
but not because he's good. Like, really good.
No, this is like much more like superficial that way. I
Okay.
mean, it's much more shallow writing. It's fun and it's entertaining, but it's
Okay.
not like to that level of multidimensional. I mean, that's just like a whole other level. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Like there's a two-dimensional, to your point, there's like a two-dimensional level in which mobsters can be funny and sort of appealing and sort of like, oh yeah, ha ha ha. It's that. But the Sopranos did a good job of showing you like, no. This is actually how that money gets made. This is where that money really comes from. And then suddenly like, yeah, they're not just like likable kind of guys who talk with funny accents, wear, like pants, like running suits. They're like actually not great guys, It's like, I got to roll. Always good seeing you guys.
Yeah.
Get
Talk to
some
you guys
sleep.
soon.
All right.
Peace.
All right.